So I've seen a lot of your interviews, and you've conveyed many times that the truth needed to be told, and all the variety of public perception that was there, and that's why this book needed to be out there. Why do you say that, and why do you think the book had to be written? Even though already there are countless other books around such issues, and of course there's a movie as well. So what is your opinion about that?
See, I penned down this book because I wanted to tell about how difficult it is to investigate the terror-related cases and what are the difficulties faced by the police officers who deal with the terrorism, whether it is of a special cell or of any anti-terror unit all over India, or it is NIA, National Investigating Agency. I also wanted to depict the excellent investigation done by the special cell in unearthing the Indian Mujahideen terrorist. The second question you asked about that it is important to tell about the truth. See, in life, perception is very, very important. And perception can be built on untruth. And perception appears to be the people more real than the reality. And therefore, it is always important to tell the truth, what happened at that particular point of time, so that people have the informed opinion about things. In this particular case, the various inquiries were conducted. The National Human Rights Commission conducted the inquiry and found the encounter to be genuine. The issue was then went to the High Court and then went to the Supreme Court. And it was settled that it was a genuine encounter. Then there was an investigation done by the unit other than the special cell. In this case, the investigation was done by the crime branch, and crime branch submitted its report to the judiciary where the judicial scrutiny is done. In spite of that, even after passing of 12 years, more than 12 years since 2008, the controversies are being raised many times, and that we see in the media. It comes from certain political circles or some other places. So I wanted to tell the people what happened during the course of encounter and thereafter, so that people can form their own opinion.
The fact that, of course, you've dedicated your book to martyr Mohan Chand Sharma, and he was a special cell inspector with the Delhi police. He was a highly decorated police officer, and he was even posthumously awarded the Gallantry Medal. So if you could tell us a little bit about him and his contribution in this mission, and how you feel that, after all these years he was awarded the medal.
See, Mohan Chand Sharma not only had received a number of gallantry medals, he was also a recipient posthumously of the Ashoka Chakra. Right. It was received on the Republic Day in 2009 by his wife, Miss Maya Sharma. He was very, very intelligent officer. His investigating skills were par excellence. For example, even in the Batla House case, we got two inputs from Gujarat police. The first input from the Gujarat police was that the terrorists belonging to Indian Mujahideen had used 3 phone numbers, and there was no calls on these numbers from outside, no calls made from these numbers to the outside. And these numbers were with various other agencies. It is not that the special cell had those numbers. Mohan Chand Sharma, while examining those numbers, he found that there was a 1 second call from a number to these numbers. That was the only call which came from outside. Generally, what happens is when a call you receive and you just cut that call without receiving it, the call CDR of that phone indicates the 1 second call. And most of the people ignore it, considering that it was not a call which was received. But Mohan Chand Sharma went into inquire into that and was able to find out that this number was belonging to somebody from Lucknow. And from Lucknow, there were calls to some number in Delhi in the Batla House area. So that was first doubt he has got. The second information which came was on 18 September 2008. And it was that 13 people, after planting blast in Ahmedabad, traveled by Rajdhani Express to Delhi. Now he was able to piece these two information and was able to pinpoint that possibly person living in L18 Batla House could be responsible for the blast. So it was his excellent investigating skills. Secondly, he was a great leader. See, when Batla House took place, on one day prior to, on 18th night, I came to know that his son was seriously ill, was in hospital, and he was struggling with life and death. I asked him that he can opt out. He should be at that time with his son. But he said, no, the nation is more important for him. See, that shows his commitment to the country, commitment to the nation, commitment to the society. And certainly he was one of the best officer of Delhi police.
So a lot has been talked about that. I'm coming to him again, that Mohan Sharma was not wearing a bulletproof jacket at that moment of time. And a lot of hue and cry was made later when he was killed. And we all know what happened later. So why do you think he was not wearing a bulletproof jacket at that moment of time? And what do you think about it now, after all these years, 12, 13 years which have passed?
See, if you see the topography of that area, any outside person goes there would be immediately spotted. When the search was to be conducted, we were not sure that we could find those people there. We may not have to find these people there. Right. Now, if you go with the bulletproof jacket, now let me explain you, bulletproof jackets are worn outside your shirt and all. It is not like in some picture shows that it is inside. It weighs around 6.1 kg. If you wear that and go at any place, you will be spotted from a distance. And everybody know that the police has come there in search of somebody. And if suppose at that time the terrorists or suspected terrorists were not there, and they come to know police had come, you will not be able to catch them. These people had been causing explosions from 2005 onwards, killing more than 239 people, injuring more than 750 people. Your raid has to be success. And therefore, if you remember, one of the officer was in the guise of Vodafone executive. They were all in plain clothes, because if suppose raid fails, if suppose people are not there, the police can withdraw from that place without anybody knowing that police had come there. So this Mohan Chand Sharma took calculative risk, and he took the risk of the life, one can say, in the hindsight. I consider it to be that he took a brave step, knowing that he's going to a place where terrorists could be there, knowing that if things go wrong, you never know what can go wrong at any point of time, because even if you plan everything, you do not know how the other party is going to react, what situations are there. It was his commitment to his duty, his commitment for the nation, that he was not wearing the bulletproof jacket, and it was his decision to take on the terrorists.
Amazing, sir. In fact, this book, which is divided into 3 parts. First, it is the story of the Batla House, then the controversy, and then Indian Mujahideen. But the way you've come together, you've strung together all the facts together. That is the reason why we should all read this book and really find out all the nitty-gritties of the biggest talked about encounter in India's history. So what do you think, sir, was the first trigger that made this encounter so controversial? Not only amongst the public, but also among the political circle at that moment of time. I still remember all the news which kept pouring in, all the doubts which kept on coming in. You're the best person to tell us, what was the first trigger the way it happened, the way Batla House turned into something else altogether. A genuine effort from the police, and there were so many controversies surrounding it.
See, this encounter took place on 19th September 2008. And from November onwards, there were elections in the country, in the assembly elections, in 5 assemblies. And in early 2009, there were parliamentary elections. A section of politicians took this as an opportunity for vote bank politics. And when the politician says something, it creates a perception. That was the number one reason. Secondly, it was strange that media started picking up rumors. Rather than doing investigative journalism, finding the truth, they just picked up rumors and started speaking. For example, in one of the paper which was submitted to the High Court also, the writer says that he found eyewitness. And that eyewitness has seen everything, what happened inside the flat, what happened outside the flat from his bathroom. Then it goes on to say that Mohan Chand Sharma got 3 bullet injuries from the front within few millimeters, few centimeters, as per the post-mortem report said by them. And therefore they concluded that it was a friendly fire. And they also said that there was no fire from the other side. The media said that he got 3 bullet injuries from the back. The post-mortem report says only 2 bullet injuries, that also from the front and more than 12 feet away, not from this so close range. Secondly, what happened is in the All India Medical Institute of Sciences, when the post-mortem was done, the doctors took hand wash of the terrorists. Now, when somebody fires from a gun, the gunpowder sticks to the hands. So that hand wash was sent to the CFSL, and CFSL report came that yes, there was a gunpowder in the hand wash, clearly indicating that they had fired. So depicting wrong post-mortem report. Post-mortem report says something, the people are saying something else, is giving a wrong perception to the public. And therefore, I have mentioned in my book this very clearly, that what was the findings of the post-mortem report, what was the findings of the CFSL report, and what were the findings of the National Human Rights Commission.